Hello, today the structure and function of the human eye is going to be examined through this Play-Doh model. To understand how our eye sees, we must first understand how sight works. In a nutshell, your eyes will collect oncoming light, which is then processed, creating the world seen around you. This process starts off at the cornea, which is this part seen here, and it's on the outside layer of your eye. It focuses the light to the rest of the eye. Depending on how much light is in the setting, the black part of your eye, or the blue part seen here, contracts when there's a large amount of light and expands when there's a little amount of light. The muscle that controls this contraction and expansion is the colored part of your eye, the iris, which can be seen as the light blue here. The light should then be focused on the retina, which is this red part, and it is a part of the eye which sends the electrical signals to the brain for interpretation. But first, we have to understand what we're seeing. The lens, which is behind the pupil and the iris, and is this yellow part here, adjusts depending on what the eye is trying to focus on. Whether the objects are closer or further away, the lens will become thicker or thinner. Once the light passes through all these and hits the retina, Once the light hits the retina, transduction occurs by photoreceptors called rods and cones. These orange ones are the rods, and these brown ones are the cones. While there are rods and cones all over the retina, they are mostly concentrated in an indentation of the eye called the fovea, which is represented by this blue part here. Now normally it wouldn't just be a blob, it would be an indent, but that's quite hard to do with Play-Doh. Now at this fovea, the light, since it is reflected, creates an upside down viewing of this pretzel, but in the end it'll be right side up. But here our rods are used to interpret colors, which would be red, green, and blue. And the combination of those creates millions and millions of colors. And our rods, which are these dots here, produce the black and white colors that we see. Now, all of this happens all over the retina, except for this spot here, which is called the optic disc, or the blind spot. That's because the optic nerve is here and there are no photoreceptors, so nothing can be seen here. After this transduction occurs, where light is transformed into electrical signals, the information is sent through the optic nerve to the thalamus. The thalamus then decides where to send this information, which happens to be the occipital lobe of the brain, which is in the back of the brain. Here, the electrical signals are interpreted and turns these signals right side up, and basically will determine finally what we see. So just for a recap, we see it, the light goes through the cornea to the pupil, which is focused on by the lens, then hits the retina, and it has to hit directly on the retina, because if it hits in front or behind the retina, nearsightedness, farsightedness can occur, which would make you have glasses. So after it hits there, it's interpreted in the fovea by our rods and cones, which is then sent through the optic nerve to the thalamus, and then sent to the occipital lobe. Thank you.